Welcome to the March 5th, 2025 Lowell School Committee meeting, 6:30, City Council Chamber. Join in saluting the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Bahu?
Here.
Mr. Conway?
Here.
Mr. Rossi?
Here.
Ms. Doherty?
Here.
Mr. Lay?
Here.
Ms. Martin? Mayor Rook?
Here.
7 present.
Section 3, Special Order of Business 3.1, Spotlight on Excellence. The Career Academy's recently opened kitchen. Mr. Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mayor and school committee members, I am thrilled, perhaps more than usual, that the honorees tonight are our Career Academy. They are special people in a very special school that does phenomenal work. I could get on about that and explain why, but they boost our graduation rates, approximately 10% per year. They save and honor students who might otherwise not have the futures that they open up for them. At any rate, tonight they're here because we recently managed to open up a kitchen project that I believe was very much the drive of Ms. Doherty and some other members on the committee. It's worth celebrating, and I'd like to have Ms. O'Loughlin and to come on up and give us some details.
Thank you, Superintendent, and thank you for the very kind words you said about our school. I'd like to take a minute and thank everyone who made the kitchen a possibility. Superintendent Skinner, Assistant Superintendent Crocker-Robarge, Dr. Campion, Mr. Underwood in the Facilities Department, Mr. St. Cyr in the DPW, the entire school committee, with a special thank you to school committee member Jackie Doherty for being our cheerleader and advocate, and the Career Academy staff and students for their patience and perseverance through this project. Without all of you, the kitchen would still just be an idea. Through our bi-monthly culinary classes with both Airmark and Mill City Grows, as well as in-house opportunities that arise, our students are not only gaining life skills, but they're also gaining confidence. But more than that, the kitchen has become a place to foster community. From gathering together to create cultural dishes, to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month, to a student teaching us his favorite recipe that he likes to make at home, we have seen students becoming engaged in ways we have never seen before and have found a new way to build relationships with them. We are very grateful to everyone who made this a possibility and are excited to see what culinary adventures await. So thank you all. We really are excited to have this new kitchen and all these new opportunities for our school. And I hope you enjoy the video that Ms. Myers created that shows our students and what they've been hard at work doing.
Thank you very much. Is there a video? Do we have one tonight?
Yeah,
Okay.
I believe IT was all set to set it up to show it.
Mr. Mayor, I don't see our IT person present who we need. I suggest we move on and we'll play it maybe a little bit later or perhaps at the end of the meeting. We'll certainly make it available to the committee members. You're welcome to wait for a minute as well if you wish.
Sure, please, go ahead, Ms. Doherty.
I just want to say how pleased I am to see that this happened. This was a grant we got over 6 years. I mean, I think when I found out about it, we had been 6 years trying to get the equipment installed. I mean, it was a lot of challenges. I'm not pointing fingers at anybody, but I think it is just a wonderful opportunity for our students. And to just add on, one of the things I think that we benefit from with this program is the opportunity for our students to learn skills that they can use as employment when they graduate. So it's just, it's a big win for the district. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Doherty. It's all of those things, and as other members of the committee have mentioned in other respects, it draws students into school. It improves attendance because there's something there that they want to be there for, and they enjoy as they engage, and they learn skills, very useful skills for their careers. Yeah, thank you.
Well done. Yeah, if they come back in, they play it, we'll play it, but just take step back for that. Thank you very much. Very well done. Thank you. I also want to welcome Ms. Pratt, student representative here this evening. Thank you for being here. You have it? Let's do it. Cool. Excellent. Thank you.
Showing you different ways to measure, different things you might want to measure. So the quarter of a cup measurements are on this side, and third of a cup measurements on this side. You need half a cup.
And then if you're ever using these, each line is a cup. So if you're putting liquid in there, and you can see it on the inside too, so when you fill it, okay, that's 1 cup. So the longer you cook the butter and the flour together, the darker and the nuttier and the richer the flavor will get. Anytime you add a liquid to your roux and you bring it to a boil, it's going to thicken your liquid. So that's how it gets nice and thick. So now what I want you to do is I want you to take the whisk, and I want you to whisk in the flour into the butter until it becomes like a dough. It's going to start to cook together, and it'll look doughy. So now it's important, she's got the flour and the butter mixing together, and you're going to notice that it's clumping together. She's cooking, as this is going on and she's stirring, she's cooking the rawness of the flour out. You never want to eat flour plain like that. You can actually get sick. You can get salmonella from it. You want to cook the rawness out. It's very easy. I have pretty good balance. And then I'm going to have, while this is going on, go ahead and just start dashing some pepper in it. It doesn't have to be, you guys don't have to measure all of your seasonings. You can eyeball some of this stuff. See how it's not as liquidy? And don't forget, and the cheese is going to thicken it even more, so we don't want it to be too thick.
If you had your 14, you could cook up this time, huh?
Who thought of this class? This is a good class.
Yeah. So yep, go ahead and incorporate all the cheese and the pasta.
I feel like personally it's been helping us a lot, especially with like culinary stuff. To learn food like hands-on. This kitchen is really useful. It has all the tools you need to be able to learn all those skills. That's some things they're gonna be like they're cooking down there. You know what I mean?
That school food was a kind of
So we're gonna make sweet potato breakfast tacos. Breakfast tacos always include, in my opinion, eggs. These eggs are also local. They came from Shaw Farm, right down the street. We're gonna do that, but we're gonna have sweet potato tacos on homemade, scratch-made corn tortillas. Has anybody ever made a corn tortilla from scratch? Have you ever had a corn tortilla though? Awesome. You guys like tacos, by the way? Hell yeah? Okay, cool. So we're gonna figure out how to make tortillas today. It's very simple. And then we're gonna make it with a homemade sauce on top, because why open a jar of sauce when you can make it yourself with some paint? But if you're looking at that potato and you're like, I just wanna see that nice color, you can go ahead and do it. If you don't get all the skin, really no worries at all. Just watch your fingers while you're trying to do that impressive knife work there. More impressive if we don't cut our finger off. That's the impressive part.
What do you think you go to Ramsey with it?
I could have done this in a bowl, but I love to save dishes when I'm cooking. That's like part of the reason that I think people don't want to cook, is because you got to do all the dishes after.
Currently of the kitchen at the Career Academy has been a game changer. Many of our students struggle in a traditional setting, but having the opportunity for them to have hands-on opportunities has really been very engaging for them. We're finding that they're looking forward to their cooking classes, which is improving their attendance, and they're becoming exciting about creating and making recipes, which is naturally overlapping into their like science, math, and English classes.
Thank you very much once again. Well done. Thank you. Thank you. Moving on to part of agenda section 4 minutes. A motion to approve the special and regular meeting minutes of the Lowell School Committee on February 5th, 2025, February 13th, 2025, and place them on file by Ms. Martin, seconded by Ms. Doherty. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 5, permission to enter. 5.1, permission to enter March 5th, 2025. And a motion to approve. Mr. Rossi.
Question.
Yep.
A question.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Through you to the superintendent. If we take a look at, I think it's the second page, Leslie King, Lynchburg, Virginia, $5,000. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just curious, there's a few of them like this. I'm just picking one of them out right now. I'm saying to myself, why are we paying somebody $5,000 in Lynchburg, Virginia? We've got an incredible staff right here on all different levels. Why are we, and we certainly have many people working in so many different areas. Why couldn't one of our staff members do this instead of paying somebody $5,000? And by the way, there's a ton of them. I'm just picking one example off, that's all. What's the rationale for that?
Good question, Mr. Conway. In this, I think it's probably helpful as well that you choose one, even just to look at it as a sample of, right?
I can name a whole bunch of them. But
so in the one that you chose, I believe that was put forward by Ms. Phillips, and I'd like to give Ms. Phillips maybe an opportunity to explain that one, and then we can talk about it more generally, if you like.
No, I'm just wondering why we wouldn't utilize our own staff instead of, here's another one in Marina del Rey, California, and we're paying somebody $8,000. If you add all these up, it's quite a bit of money. That's the point I'm trying to make here.
So if we don't choose one and we talk more generally, I think the answer is that we seek out the best expertise we can find in the particular area of need that we have. But it comes to mind for me that some of the famous cases of school districts improving due to professional development involve, for example, it's a famous case study of New York City District 2, where they're credited with making phenomenal turnaround. They brought in people from Australia, and I can provide you with the documentation and the write-up of that work. We're not bringing people in from abroad, but we are seeking the best and most expert people that we can find. It is true, and we can be proud that there's a lot of great expertise right here in our district.
Right, because you often say we hire the best.
That's correct.
So,
yes, we do.
Why not utilize that best? That's the point I'm making.
Once we hire the best staff, Mr. Conway, we're halfway there, I'd say. And then we need to continue to help them to develop and grow. And we need to seek the best practices and the best expertise that are available for doing that. If you'd like details on any particular one, we're happy to speak in detail about it.
Yeah. I think that going forward, I think we have to take a look at this. This could be a lot of money that we could end up saving. And yet, again, you've been in the system for many years, I've been in the system for many years, and I often say, the experts, and we used to have a terminology, we don't have to go 28 miles to get an expert. We got them sitting right here at our table.
In very many cases.
We should be able to identify that so we can cut down on the cost of money going forward. And the second question, I'm sure I know the answer, but I know a few of my constituents, a couple of them, asked about this, and I thought it would be a good idea that we would explain this to the public. Let's take a look at page 4 for a minute. It says here, right up on the top, first one, to provide round-trip transportation for 2 homeless students residing in Lowell and attending Lowell Public Schools or other towns and cities. That kind of stood out to people. Like, well, if they're not in Lowell, then why are we paying for it? I mean, I think I know the answer, but I think it would be good that we tell the public that what are we spending this money? Is it potentially somebody that is going to school in another community? And why would we be paying for it? That's the point I'm trying to make here.
Okay. I think there's a relatively straightforward answer to it, Mr. Conway, and I think it's as well, I think your idea of giving a clear explanation for the public is worthwhile. Homeless students are entitled to continue in a school in the community that they lived in previously when they're moved elsewhere. So one of the most common examples these days, the residents of the Inn and Conference Centre in Lowell are homeless. And while they're housed in the Inn and Conference Centre, they came to that Inn and Conference Centre from some other community. Bedford, Waltham, sometimes further away. They are entitled by law to have their child continue in the schools in those other communities. And the arrangements that are made involve us and the other community paying 50% of the cost of transportation each.
Okay.
If I just editorialize for just a minute. The law is called McKinney-Vento. It was made and enacted 40 years ago. And I've argued to DESE, by sheer coincidence, many times, but by sheer coincidence today as well, that it wasn't envisioned 40 years ago that it would be applied to multiple homeless folks in the situation that they were in at the Inn and Conference Centre. But it is, and it is very costly.
Right. How many do we have in the conference center now? How many
Right now, there are 84 students at Lowell Public Schools from there.
84?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry?
That's not the total number of homeless that we have in our schools.
Right. No,
And-
again, I think it's, we just need to let the public know, what this is all about here, because, I didn't want to leave out any specific facts that might mislead someone on it. So I think that you have explained it, and I appreciate that. But, again, looking forward, I think that we're obviously taking a look at budgets, and we want to make sure that we save money and that we're not throwing it out the window. And if there's some way that we can possibly, take that money and put it aside for the city of Lowell, why not take a look at it? But I think you've explained it. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, the only alternative would be if you have our own fleet.
Sorry?
The only alternative would be if you had our own transportation fleet.
Right.
I think it would be interesting to know just how much it is. I think it's over a couple of $1 million just in transportation, because every permission to enter, we keep seeing these, and it's not a solution. The solution is we need housing. We need affordable housing.
I couldn't agree more. It is, while it's the law, we want to assure you that we are adhering to the law.
I could just add one more thing. I understand the whole concept behind McKinney-Vento was that you're already disrupted as a child by being unhoused. At least if we can keep you in your school where you know your teachers, you have friends, that it wouldn't totally blow up your world. That was the intention behind it, that at least the stability would be your school. But as we can see, the problem is gets bigger. Thank you.
Mr. Rossi?
And in my own personal experience, I would just like to see that the city of Lowell is keeping receiving districts accountable for, say, if a student moves to Lynn from the ICC, that receiving district is transporting that student back to where they felt comfortable in Lowell Public Schools, because the burden shouldn't just be all on us. And I feel like some districts are maybe getting away with that, and I think we have to assure that that onus is carried through.
Thank you.
Roll call? Oh, you still like that?
Thank you. I just want to echo my colleague about transportation. We have most of the items on this section is all transportation, mostly transportation. Page 3, Harold taxi, $143,000. That's very high. My question is, I see a bunch of them, Harold taxi, Nemo, Nick's transportation, all appear twice. Why is that so? Why are they appear more than once?
I believe because if I'm not mistaken, the city requires that we make an individual contract in each case. We're not allowed to lump them together, and Dr. Pinto can give you more details if you wish. But we need to make, in each case, a specific contract for that situation, and not just a global contract.
Okay. Thank you. I think that's a good explanation. Thank you. My other question is, it just stand out that on page 2, Jessica Lander, I know her. I think she is our student teacher of the year, maybe 2 years ago. Just because of that, I've seen a lot of checks being paid out to individuals. For example, for Jessica Landers, so I don't know if other people are also Lowell Public School employee, but I know Jessica is. So if you make a check pay to her like that, can you guarantee it's not a conflict?
It's a really important distinction. Jessica Lander is not a Lowell Public Schools employee at the moment. She's taken a leave, and I don't believe she qualifies as a Lowell Public Schools staff member this year.
Okay.
Not at the moment.
Okay.
If she were, it would be different, and she wouldn't appear here.
Thank you for your explanation.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm all
Roll
set.
call.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Lay?
Yes.
Ms. Martin? Mayor Rourke?
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 absent.
I'm going to section 6, memorials, 6.1, James F. McMahon, retired Deputy Superintendent of Schools and former Shaughnessy School Principal, husband of retired Merkland School Literacy Specialist Mary Ann McMahon, and father of Erin Hart, teacher at the Greenhills. 6.2, Irene Silva, mother of Fernanda Lopez, STEM Academy math resource teacher, and Annabelle Silva, Sullivan Middle School instructional specialist. And 6.3, Patrick J. Moran and Leah K. Moran, father and mother of Lynn Moran, administrative assistant at the Family Resource Center office. Madam Clerk, please dim the lights. May they rest in peace. Section 7, motions. 7.1 by Mr. Bahu, have proper department look into allowing students to change their email passwords upon entering junior high and thereafter. Seconded by Ms. Doherty. Mr. Bahu.
Yes, this motion was brought to me by a concerned student who is actually sitting right next to me, Ms. Sarika Park. And she asked me, she informed me that some students' passwords over vacation, some students' emails over vacation, over February school break, were getting manipulated and broken into. So she said, why are we using the simple passwords that we currently are and not having the ability to go ahead and change them? So I know that she has some questions about it and a lot to say about it. So I'd like to go ahead and turn the floor over to her and let her make her statements.
Thank you, Mr. Bahu. So over February break, 2 students had their email accounts hacked, and a Google form was sent out to Lowell High School students. The email promoted a well-paying remote job and asked for student information such as their personal email, home address, phone number, gender, age, what bank they have, and whether or not the student has a credit card. Ultimately, this raises the question of how secure are our school accounts? I can assure you that everybody in this room can guess my password, and the same sentiment can be applied to my peers. This can lead to problems such as cheating, data leaks, or in this case, an unknown person can log into your school account. I, on behalf of Lowell High School students, ask that a solution be looked into for the safety of our students and our personal information. Thank you.
Sure. And I know my email has a authentication code every time I sign in for work. I think that might be a good place to start, but if we could go ahead and have the IT department come up with a solution where we're not making these passwords so simple that anybody could hack right into it.
Thank you.
All in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 7.2, Mr. Bahu. Have proper department look into the possibility of having students' email not be disabled after high school graduation.
Sure. So I called the IT.
Mr. Lay, Mr. Bahu.
I called the IT department, and it sounds like our students' emails are disabled. I do know, sitting on another school committee, that we do have to track students a year after they leave the school district to, ensure, what they have been doing since they've left high school, whether they've joined the military, became employed, attending colleges, and it seems like we can do it by mail, or we can find out their other email that they don't have. We can find out the email, their personal email, and they can sort of share all that with IT, and then we can sort of enter all that information. Or we could just go ahead and allow them to have their LHS email or their Lowell Public School email for an extra period of time, so we can sort of keep informed with them, as well as have them stay informed with us. So this is something that I would like to go ahead and have IT take a look at, simply because it may be the easiest way to stay in contact with our students upon graduation.
Ms. Pratt?
I also think that it would be beneficial for students to have access to their emails, because after graduation, when they're in college, they can have access to their syllabi and access to materials that would help them in college.
Thank you.
Sounds like Ms. Pratt votes yes.
All in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 7.3, Mr. Bahu. Have proper department provide a report of employment opportunities approved in the 2024-2025 budget, which are still not filled. Seconded by Ms. Doherty. Mr. Bahu.
Sure, we're coming up on budget time, and I know we advertised a lot of positions last year. Many of them have gone unfilled. To have a sound budget is very important, but to know the positions that are not getting filled is something that we may want to look at, whether we need to increase pay on that, or if we need to just go ahead and eliminate that position because it hasn't been filled for a period of time. That would help us monitor our budget more closely, as well as having good practices moving forward.
All in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 7.4, Mr. Rossi. Request the superintendent to work with the appropriate departments in order to plan for new placements of all classrooms and programs in the basement of the 1922 building that will be impacted by the construction. Seconded by Ms. Doherty. Mr. Rossi.
Yes, especially with the news that we all received last week in regards to the extension of whenever Lowell High School will essentially be finished. There are a lot of very essential programs in that basement floor, including the culinary program, ROTC, Lowell Community Health Center, and I think it's imperative, especially for those programs, to have a place to be housed so that our students are not concerned and what they're looking to get from Lowell High School isn't jaded at all, and we can still make that happen. Thank you.
All in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 7.5, Ms. Doherty. Request the superintendent to provide the committee with an update on the number of teachers by school who have not received their full certification licensure, along with the administration's plan for ensuring all Lowell teachers are highly qualified. Seconded by Mr. Lay. Mr. Doherty.
Thank you, Your Honor. And I did just pass out the last report we had on this, which was dated March 4th, 2024. So it's a year ago. Seems like a timely time to look at it. This was actually based on some motions I made back in 2023, where we got the initial count was we had 103 teachers who were working under emergency licensure or provisional. And as the report from March 4, 2024 shows, at that time, we reduced the 103 educators to 82. So I'm just looking for an update. I want to know that we are continuing to get our staff licensed. If there are cases that are not on track, that have been working for 2 years now, because if the original report was from information in 2023, now we're on, over a full year of academic into their second year. What is the plan for that? So I think it's pretty explanatory. Thank you.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. Section 8, subcommittees. 8.1, the approval of the minutes of the Curriculum and Instruction Subcommittee meeting of February 4th, 2025. Madam Chairwoman, Ms. Martin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Just to present the minutes from the meeting, which did take place on February 4th, present from the school committee were myself, Mr. Bahu, and Ms. Doherty, and from the administration, we had Dr. Fox-Roy. So this was the first of our now monthly established curriculum instruction subcommittee meetings. So we'll be reporting back out on these on a monthly basis to the committee. This one, we were really able to focus on a recent curriculum audit that had been taken at the Lowell Public Schools. A company named Attuned had worked with Ms. Fox-Roy's office and with teachers and staff across the district, really looking at the quality of both curriculum, the rigor of our instruction. I think they did give us some interesting insights as we go forward. Some of the strengths that they really highlighted for us were the teams, both at the district level as well as the campus-based coaches. And I think as I looked at the real strengths they talked about, what I think really struck me was they're really saying that we have the infrastructure to support extremely strong and rigorous literacy instruction. And I think that they're giving us, kind of the insights now where we can take our instruction to the next level, which is obviously what we're trying to do. I think the key gaps that they had pulled out for us really focused on content in terms of the curricular materials that we have for language comprehension, kind of the way that they're being combined and the suite of curriculum systems that we have in place. I think recognizing that we need to upgrade that to ensure that our students are using the most challenging and appropriate materials, and that our teachers have what they need to be able to provide a really rigorous classroom environment for all of our students. So the plan moving forward is that there is going to be a task force pulled together by the Curriculum and Instruction Office. They'll be including stakeholders from across the district. I think both my colleagues on the subcommittee really emphasized, Ms. Doherty, I know has mentioned this, and also Mr. Bahu, of including a very strong place for teachers to have a voice in this whole process of reviewing existing curriculum and making the choices moving forward for what new systems we want to bring into play here in the city. So we will be looking for that group. They may have even already started. I'll defer to the expert on that. But we did emphasize also that we wanted to ensure that we have a real plan in place as we enter into the budget season, so that this is going to be a significant investment, not just in terms of the materials, but in terms of the training that's going to go along with this and the professional development that will be required. So we did indicate that we would like to see this happen in a fairly quick fashion, so that we'll have the information we need to make these kind of investments when we get to budget season. So I would submit that as a report of progress, but I would defer to Dr. Fox-Roy if there's anything I've missed. I'm sure there is.
Did a pretty good job. Yeah. Motion to accept the report of progress by Ms. Martin, second by Ms. Doherty. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. Section 9, reports to the superintendent. 9.1, motion response, Mr. Rossi, January 15th, 2025, regarding creating an easy way to access link if buses are delayed. Mr. Rossi.
Yes, I just wanted to say thank you very much for this. I enjoy it. I go on it randomly, and I think it's just helpful for everybody overall just to have a better idea and may even help with a decrease in calls to the FRC or wherever. So thank you.
It's quite the hobby. Ms. Doherty?
Thank you. I thought it was a great motion to begin with. It's a great idea. As a parent who has been in that situation, why isn't the bus here, waiting in the cold or in the rain or whatever? It's really great. My only request, and I don't know if this would be a biggie, is when I went on it, the live link for actually today's afternoon ride, it didn't say clearly the date. So I wasn't quite sure. Am I on today? It said, I know the link said this will take you to the live, what number of buses are going to be late, how late are they going to be, if they are running late. But I thought if we could just, for purposes of accuracy for families, have the date prominently displayed. You're looking at, March 5th, the afternoon, run or whatever. That would be just a request if we could do that. Thank you.
9.2, motion response, Mr. Conway, January 15th, 2025, regarding Lowell High School dismissal. Mr. Conway.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I want to thank Wendy Crocker for the report. I appreciate. If you take a look at, in this report, it has a picture of where the supervision and at dismissal at Lowell High School, which I think it was excellent. Plus the fact is, what's important too is, which really stood out as far as I was concerned, is the opportunities to strengthen the current practices that are in place now, because that tells me that, we're not satisfied with what we have, and we shouldn't be satisfied, to be quite frank with you, because, the reason why I'm putting this on is that, feedback from my constituents, parents and so forth, and I've seen firsthand, there was obviously issues there, and they spill over into the downtown, and we want to be good partners with the business downtown, and I think it's important that we do as much as we possibly can to have a safe exit from Lowell High. And I know it's not easy to take 3,500 kids and move them out within a matter of minutes. So again, I appreciate the report. The only thing I would like to add to that, when I take a look at the picture where the supervision for the dismissal is, it's excellent. I hope it's being followed too. I think that's important. There's one thing about, as we all know, putting something down the way it should be, but we have to make sure the way it is. And again, that's why I have this motion on, because there's been some shortfalls, should we say. Right? So, and the other day I was down there, and I did notice there were a couple police officers right at the end of Kirk Street, and I had a little chit-chat with them. I think I can speak to someone outside on the street, but and they were very helpful too. So again, I thank you very much, and now I think we're hoping for the best in this. Thank you.
Mr. Lay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to see, so by looking at this, where all the securities and admin are standing out, I noticed also that there's one exit that the students use a lot, and that is the way through cobblestone. I don't see anybody standing there, but a lot of students use that pathway to get in and out of school as well. So if you could find another body just to stand there, maybe, I don't know, you make a decision. I just want to let you know that they use that doors also. Thank you.
9.3, response to motion by Mr. Rossi, January 15th, 2025, regarding Greenhill's traffic pattern change. Mr. Rossi.
Thank you, Mrs. Crocker-Ruberge, for the very detailed report in regards to the traffic change, pattern change. I'm understanding, though, that when there is weather still, it's not always going so well. But I think it is a work in progress that we're just going to have to keep taking in with, what, like, we've made these changes, this is happening, how the weather is impacting it, and so forth. So if we could just continue to really monitor this, I'd really be grateful. Thank you.
9.4, motion response by Mr. Rossi, January 15th, 2025, regarding migrant students who receive ELL support. Mr. Rossi?
Yes, and I thank Ms. Bopa Vutselis and Ms. Phillips for this report, and that we should not call them migrant students. There are McKinney-Vento as part of this class, and that we have to remember they are a very special class. And I must say, honestly, I mean, I'm in a unique position because of being a teacher and receiving a student from this district. And I must say, I cannot commend your department enough for the work that they've done with students and sending over transcripts and data collected and so forth. So I commend you for everything that you have done. This is a class of students that their families are scared and they don't need to be, and I myself call them migrant students, and they're McKinney-Vento. They're here, they're our students, and we need to protect them like we protect any child, any homeless student, any student that's going through issues, and I take that to heart, so thank you.
Ms. Doherty?
Thank you. I just had a quick question, and I think it's timely because as we are going to be going through the budget process, I noticed and I appreciate that seems to be a circle of support around many of these families, which I think is so important. But on the second page, you mentioned the Family Leadership Institute, specifically connecting families to adult ed. I remember we created the survival English classes for families last spring, and I'm just wondering if we can get more information about how the Family Leadership Institute, how many families are they engaging with the survival English classes? Because I guess we had looked at, when we had the funding, we created this Family Leadership Institute, but where is it really above and beyond what our families can get through adult education? Because we have a very robust adult education. I mean, I think it's kind of a model across the state, what we do here in Lowell through adult education. So I just like more specifics about how the Family Leadership Institute has been helping these families, especially, the numbers of families that are being supported through the Institute as we go looking at, what we've got to work with in terms of budget for next year. Thanks.
Superintendent?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Doherty, we'll follow up with details that you're asking about regarding the Family Leadership Institute. I thought it's worth pointing out our adult ed program, yes, it's robust and it's terrific. It meets about half or less than half of the adults who are looking for services.
So their classes are filled, you mean? They can't take as many?
They are absolutely jammed. We have opened classes in various rental spaces that we rent, but there are more than double the number of spaces, they're more than double the number of applicants or double the number of spaces.
Thank you.
Ms. Martin?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'd also add, just to, kind of give the full picture of it too, the Advocacy Center has been a remarkable partner at the ICC shelter, and they have been providing extremely valuable services to a large number of the residents there. To the superintendent's point, absolutely, they are absolutely maxed out. But I will also say we do have a number of other community partners that have been part of that effort, including, your usual suspects of Middlesex Community College and some of the other community-based organizations in the area that have been providing other straight ESL courses, things like that. other workforce development courses all on site at the ICC. So it really has been a collaborative effort. The classes that have been provided both by Abbasi and from the Family Institute have been incredibly valuable for all these residents in that location, but it really has taken the resources and the kind of care and concern from a number of different organizations getting involved there to be able to provide these services in a way that can really address all of the residents' needs. Thanks.
Mr. Lay?
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. Mr. Superintendent, to you, Mr. Superintendent, if the adult classes are maxed out and we could only service half of the students who registered, who want to take classes, have we looked into expanding?
Of course, yes, Mr. Lay. Many of you may know Miss Betty McKiernan, who's renowned for running a wonderful program. She is continually looking for additional space and, of course, needs additional funding to open up additional classrooms. The funding is well, both the funding and the space are both part of they're lacking. And so in order to, if we had lots of funding and lots of space, we'd double the amount of folks in the program.
So, again, so where are they located now, the classes?
So the majority of the programming occurs across the street here at the, I think it used to be called the Green School, the Abbasi program, we refer to it as now. They run some classrooms at Lowell High School in the evening. They run some classrooms from a location on, I think it's Lawrence Street in South Lowell, and I may be missing some, but the majority are here.
Right, so high school definitely is not a space problem. We could easily add another class at the high school.
In the evening time, yes, yeah, but daytime programming is also in demand, and we don't have space in the day.
Okay, thank you.
9.5, update of Lowell High School construction. Mr. Superintendent?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The committee is aware, I believe, that last week a concern was found where the basement of the 1922 building had some hollow areas underneath, and was not anticipated, and will need to be addressed. It will mean a delay and potentially additional expense for the project. The item was put on the agenda tonight pretty much to offer an opportunity for committee members to discuss or ask questions and gain perspective. And in your packet, for some context, is the latest agenda from the school building committee meeting that was held last Thursday. If you care to, on page 8, this picture on page 8 partially describes the problem. On page 8, you're looking at a cutout of the floor to lay a pipe. When the floor is cut out, you can see the dirt underneath. That's normal enough. But it appears that through flooding over the 100 years or more, that some of the earth has washed away from below that concrete. So in other words, the concrete floor is no longer sitting on something solid. There are hollows. And that's not a situation that can be allowed to continue. I believe as well that the thickness of the floor, the concrete thickness, in some cases is 4 inches, which is more appropriate at least, but in some cases it's as shallow as 1 or 2 inches, which is not suitable. So how to remedy the problem is being discussed. I know that the construction company have had engineers in. They're looking at a variety of different possible solutions, and we await further information about what that will mean for us.
If I could, just Mr. Bahu was there in person. I was on through Zoom last Thursday. And he can speak on it as well. But you know, they did say it's another cost incurred through the contingency fund, and also will be a 4 to 5 month delay at the least until December of 26. They did tell us that the next meeting, Mr. Bahu, I believe is April 3rd. And they hope to have more specifics on costs and timelines at that meeting. Ms. Rossi?
And this is just through conversations that I've had with various people, but if Lowell High School was built in 1856 originally in Lucy Larkham Park, which is a national park under federal mandate. Is there a way we can get any federal type of funding to help with this if that park and that canal was made after Lowell High School was built?
Mr. Bauer, tell me if I'm wrong, but that question was asked about any different kind of funding, and we were told no. Everything will fall on the taxpayer.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, definitely there was a question asked to which the answer was no, and it was whether or not we could get additional funds from MSBA, and that was ruled out. I think Ms. Del Rossi is offering a new avenue, a creative one, that may or may not be useful, but we certainly will run it down. I think it's worth checking out.
Not through MSBA, but
Right.
through the federal funding, which we're under such strict guidelines.
Mr. Lay?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have several questions from this. One question is, how could this be overlooked by the initial study when before the construction even began? So I don't know if there was an answer given at that meeting, and then do we know how big that area is? And then if there's an extra cost, okay, I'm not gonna say much about that. But if there is an extra delay, if you had a delay, I'm wondering if we could expedite working overtime in order to meet the initial plan.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Mr. Lay, I think you asked 2 or 3 questions. I'll take them in order. There was an answer given about why it wasn't, why we're discovering this now, and the answer that was given was that the flooring that you're looking at, they call it the slab, that it wasn't, tilted or sagging, or nor was it cracked, and so that there wasn't. They claimed that there was no evidence of the issue until they dug into it. That's the answer that was given. Your other question about the delay, I know I attended a meeting today at Lowell High School with the OPM and the construction company, and they're looking at a variety of different options and then also working with us about what the implications would be for the scheduling and so forth. And there's no real answers, just lots of different options being considered. I think that there has been recently overtime being used to expedite the project already. And for the moment, I think that overtime has been stopped simply because you don't want people working overtime when we're not making progress where they were intended to. So I think that the main emphasis right now is to come up with answers for this and get back to us and the committee and the public with what the cost will be and what the delay will be, for sure.
Mr. Conway?
Yeah, just very briefly, just basically a comment, but I think you've touched on it, through you to the superintendent. I don't understand why they wouldn't have brought in I believe it's called a geotech engineering company that would check that soil to find out what the soil is like. Anytime you have a project, you're going to be checking. You would check the soil to find out whether the soil can handle the structure. Now, in the meanwhile, I would think that they would have drilled some holes in it. Again, I'm not an engineer, to check that soil. In the meanwhile, they would obviously see that the thickness of that slab wasn't enough. It just kind of boggles my mind. And then not to have, an architectural firm would come in and take a look and see, with this structure and all the work, you want to find out whether you have a good foundation or not. If I came up to your house and said I was going to put a couple rooms on, and then once I'm putting the lights up on the in the ceiling, I say, oh, by the way, you got a problem with the fittings here in the the foundation. You'd say, well, why didn't you check that? I mean, it just seems so logical, and yet it's overlooked. I don't quite understand it, and I'm not an engineer, obviously, but I mean, I hope we can rectify this. It's just a shame, and I know a lot of people have certainly spoken out, and they just can't believe that we're in that situation at this point because of the delay. Was it 4 months or 5 months, Mr. Mayor?
They mentioned December of '26 on
Okay.
Thursday night.
Okay, all right.
But again, on the April 3rd meeting, should be more specific with costs and estimates.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Bahu, go ahead.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, Mr. Conway, that they should have been creating some boreholes and understanding what the issues, if there were any issues with the floor. And we all know that there's been flooding at Lowell High School in the basement for 25 years, but unfortunately, that's neither here nor there at this point. I think we just have to try to move on and try to come up with the best solution. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the superintendent, how many classrooms are going to be impacted by this delay in the basement that we will not be able to use for a long period of time?
So if I could answer the question by thinking out loud and having you think you'll get the sense of it. There are 3 floors of classrooms above where we're talking about. And I think people will understand, and the committee will understand, that we're talking about the 1922 building. Essentially, it covers, it fronts a lot onto Kirk Street, the north to south. Right now, they're working on the half of that building, the northern half. They worry that similar problem will exist on the southern half. So you're talking about a very, very large building that has 3 layers or floors of classrooms in there. They're not all, of course, they're not classrooms in the basement, but there's a general understanding, if not a rule, that you'll not conduct construction work above or below active classrooms, right? So that's not a specific answer, but it would be many, many classrooms.
So based on me being in the 1981 building when they were building it, they're not to have any construction during the school day, which would impact student learning.
That's correct.
Correct? So I know Mr. Rossi put in a motion on how we're able to go ahead and, come up with classroom spaces. Has there been any plans discussed about that? And is there something that we can do? We're looking at 3,400 students currently in our high school, which could be a big issue. Will Mr. Rourke, do we even know, will the 1981 building be open next
Yes.
fall? So we will have an offset there.
This is obviously not good news, but there are some relief, and in fact, it's likely that programs that Mr. Rossi discussed, ROTC, culinary, and so on, can move to the 1980 building that will be completed by next summer. But as far as options go, lots of options are being spoken about. I think we have to be careful that different options would delay the project more or less. Different options would cost more or less. And so we can't be confident in which option we're going for until we clear with the city and the council what the costs are going to be associated with that. So we can speculate about options and actually lay some of them out so that we're being prepared for different contingencies, but we won't know which option is practical until we know that the funding is there to apply to that particular option.
So until we hear from Skanska on April 3rd, we will not even be able to come up with a plan
That's correct.
after that fact. Okay, thank you.
9.6, mid-year progress on strategic goal. 3.3, mental health district-wide planning. Mr. Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I regret not having put this at the top of the order for this reports of the superintendent, in large part because it's worthy of that. It's a good news one. We have, at the direction of the committee, we have a very important goal this year, strategic goal around mental health. I'm very pleased about the progress we've been making, and we intend to give the committee updates on our progress towards each and every one of our strategic goals. Tonight's happens to be on our mental health progress, and I should turn it over at this point, if I may, to Dr. Brown Legrand.
Thank you. No doctor, but thank you, everybody. I think we had an opportunity with the rebuilding of student support to, as a department this year, to come up with some very clear goals for the department. One of them that I think we heard loud and clear and through Drew's work over the last couple of years was around mental health. What you see here is kind of a summary of what has been worked on, during the course of this year, but it certainly doesn't encapsulate all the work that his department does. So I want to thank Drew for kind of giving us an overview tonight, and then we'll have questions.
Thank you. So I just want, in addition to the report you've received, I know there was a little bit of a slideshow. I wanted to cover a couple of slides within that show just to give a little bit of a perspective, a larger perspective to how we are addressing the goals. With this first slide we're looking at, which is kind of our multi-tiered system of support, the structure that we do a lot of our mental health planning around and sort of support in schools, which is our tier 1 basic mental health support for all kids, and our tier 2 is early intervention and sort of supports for kids who need a little bit more, and the tier 3 are more intensive supports. And so we structure a lot of within the office, a lot of what we're doing and programmatically trying to think through what support we're providing where. We're not focusing on any one area, but trying to build out all of our systems at one time. For example, at the high school, we brought back the Bright program, which is a great tier 3 support for kids who've been out on hospitalization, and the program's functioning really well. Another way to think about what we're doing and the programs we're doing is we split up kind of the different areas that we work on into the ideas of promotion and prevention and collaboration and intervention and support. So we've done quite a bit of mental health screening recently with students, trying to understand in a proactive way what our students are facing and be able to address that instead of constantly running from crisis to crisis with kids. So we're trying to do our best to get ahead of that. At the same time, we're trying to train up our staff and our social workers to be able to handle the problems that they're seeing and to be able to address the things at tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 levels, wherever they're addressing those pieces. So we're trying to do a lot of things at the same time, but so far so good. I'm pretty happy with the support, with the progress we're making. This next slide, just a slide, a visual of a number of some of the regional and local partners that we have and that we're building and we're working with. As I was sitting here listening to the report, I know that there are other partners out there that I did not capture in here. And the next time I get this slide, it will be more crowded with more partners. And then finally, I know last year there was quite a bit of conversation within the school committee about making sure that resource lists were present and that folks in the community could access resources. So I just wanted to point out that our community resource guide is rather long and thick, and there's lots of resources within there that can be found on all schools' pages, as well as the district page. And we also have a tile on the front page for crisis hotlines, just in case folks need crisis hotlines. And then finally, the last thing I wanted to plug, which is underneath Alice's, Ms. Brown-Legrand's leadership, we've put together a community resource fair that's coming on April 10th. That'll be at the high school. That we're going to have, at this point, we have about 35 vendors, and we'll have a speaker, and we hope to have a really good community support so folks can see not just mental health and behavioral health supports, but also programmatic stuff that they can have for their children, for the summer, as well as after-school programming, just trying to let them know what's out there through our collective offices underneath the Office of Student Support.
Mr. Rossi, go ahead.
Yes.
Thank you so much for this presentation, and thank you for all the work that you've done. Mental health is a huge issue, especially after COVID. I'm wondering, like, the pyramid that you had created, prevention, intervention, so forth, the right out of hospitalization. I feel like I see so many times that a kid goes from 0 to a hospitalization. And if there was a way that even we could do an all mailing for parents of every student in the district to see prevention and a list of resources, intervention support and a list of resources, and out of hospitalization, because our kids are all over the spectrum of mental health support. And we really need to involve the Department of Developmental Disabilities and all that they encompass, Seven Hills and all of what they encompass. We don't know every single situation, and this is where I think some of our kids are going from 0 to 100. I think it's so important just to get that out to all of our parents, because even, you know, the most well-adjusted kid is struggling in ways that is more intrinsic than anything, and I think we do need to get that word out to all our parents, because we don't know what's happening, and it's important to do that. Thank you.
Ms. Doherty.
Thank you, and thank you for this information and this work. It's very important to me personally. I think we have seen the anxiety level just as not just our children, our staff, myself. I've never been so anxious. And I just had a couple of questions. I made notes on I don't have the PowerPoint with me. I just have this one. So I'm going to just jump with a couple of things that jumped out at me. First of all, the whole breadth of the work that you're taking on, you know, looking across the district, and the collaboration piece is huge, starting to connect. And as you said, there's more, but because we never had enough resources, and we were the committee that said hire a bunch more social workers and hire, you know, we tried to invest in our staff that we could have that. And I don't even know if you were able to fill all those positions. We'll find that out in another report down the road. So the collaboration piece is huge. So one other thing that jumped out at me, and like I said, it's not in this report, I think it's on the slide, the high percentage of anxiety and depression that you're finding with young students, elementary age. The percentage was horrifying, even for someone like me who's feeling my own anxiety level increase. And then my question is really, when you get to, in this report, you talked about the social emotional learning programs that we've got across the district. And you mentioned a couple of, you know, you asked all the schools, you surveyed the schools, what are the pros and cons of what they're using for SEL? And then you listed a number of ones that we have in the district, Wayfinder, Open Circle. And I'm just trying to get to, what is the point with this? Are we looking to find one SEL program, or are we going to do a hybrid? Because we all recognize social emotional learning, it's so key to our students' ability to be engaged, to learn. So I just want to know what the plan is with that. Because we have been a district, and I don't think we're alone in this, you get a little money for this program, it's a grant, so we buy this program. But another school's using another program. So I'm just looking at what's the end game about the SEL programming.
Well, you couldn't have asked a more apt question. So our schools are in lots of different places about this, and we've been working with them both to begin to come together around a couple programs. I don't think we're in a place where, and we're too big and diverse of a district and diverse schools to sit there going, we're just going to run with one program. We are trying to unify and come together around a couple different programs, and what will nest most easily within our schools and ultimately within the curriculum, the academic curriculum that we have. So it's easy to, if you take SEL and just teach it as a standalone piece, it's not nearly as effective as how we weave it into how we weave it into our academics. So if kids are learning SEL at the same time, that's really the goal that we think about. The question is which programs do that best. And so we're doing a little bit of piloting. We have Open Circle, which is a little bit more natural about that. So we're discussing. We haven't come to the end point where we know exactly what that's going to look like, but it's an active conversation, both between us and with the schools.
Graham, go ahead.
I think other things that are not necessarily captured that your department has been working on are things like trauma-informed practices training. So having and developing a plan, which I know they've been working on this year, to train everybody, right, in the district, and then identify a way to maintain that kind of as we get new staff, as there's changeover, so that you don't have a situation where one whole school's trained and then a few years later now nobody maybe is trained in that building. And so, looking at that, looking at restorative practices across the district, which I think will go together when we start actually honing in on programs specifically, whether it's for bullying or for SEL. That hopefully those things, restorative practices, trauma-informed training, are kind of the underpinnings of everybody. And then there's maybe some flexibility around some of the SEL programming.
And those are pretty universal skills that we're teaching with teachers and our staff about sort of how we address and work with kids who are struggling, that can be applied cross schools. So it doesn't matter what the program is. If we have those skills and our classrooms are trauma informed, then we're doing much better by the kids and we're teaching them the skills that they need at the same time.
Just had a follow-up, and it actually has to do with trauma-informed, because, and I don't know, it was some Mass Association School Committee meetings that they were talking about trauma-informed districts. You can get this designation, and it just like, I want that. I think it's so cool. But I noticed in our permission to enter, we had, you had a trauma-informed training. Well, I don't know if you've had it yet, Walker Solutions at the Robinson School. And that came out of the mental health grant. So I'm assuming that's part of the work you're doing. So you are going outside?
So we do a little bit of both. We're coming at it in all different ways. So we're not sitting there going, there's only one way to do this. The Robinson was very attracted to Walker. We had the ability to pull Walker in. We have some other folks involved with a different vendor, the TLPI, the Trauma Policy and Leadership Institute. We were able to pull them in under kind of the same grant to do that. Then we work with, we push out the TIPS curriculum, which we do ourselves. So depending on the school and where we're at, the training, essentially the bottom line training is pretty similar about what we're doing. But it's like, what's the hook that's going to get the school and attract the teachers that's going to get us the biggest bang for the buck? And that's what we're leveraging. And then ultimately, we're going to continue to do this training. They're never one and done trainings. It's do the training and continue to come back at it and really perfect our craft.
And so then the final piece of that for me would be, and I think we talked about this with the curriculum subcommittee too, that collaboration between the schools. You've got, I assume you're taking opportunities to get all the social workers together and, because that I think is very important for our staff too. And that's what we were, as Ms. Martin mentioned in the curriculum subcommittee meeting, talking about as we're looking at new K-8 curriculum, we want to get everybody in the room talking about this stuff so that we have that consistency across the district. So that it's very encouraging. I know it's a big task, but we definitely need to be there. So it's great. Thank you.
Mr. Rossi?
Yeah, I guess Ms. Doherty hit my point of, in the permission to enter, I did notice the Robinson on there, which I was very happy to see. I'm just curious, what other schools have received the trauma-informed training besides the Robinson, or is this just getting started, or?
We have, so the Robinson, we have the Bartlett's been doing quite a bit of this work. We have the Riley that's been trained. We have the Pawtucket that's getting trained. We have, I believe the Wang has done some of this training too. So it's a little bit of a hit and miss depending on where different schools are and how they can carve out time. There's probably more, I know there's more than I'm missing. off the very top of my head, but I believe we've done trainings in, actually I've been, some of my trainings in CPT stuff at the STEM. I've done that there, and I've done it at the Career Academy, and we've been doing it at the Bridge.
Teacher Academy.
We've kind of gotten to about a third of the schools, and we're working with about a third of the schools and just kind of expanding our wings as we can get there.
I would just like to, one more input is that my major concern is the citywide schools, Robinson being one, especially the schools in Centerville, Green Knowledge, McAuliffe, citywide, such as the Pine Arts and the STEM, get that training because those schools have received a lot of McKinney-Vento students who have probably been through a good amount of trauma in whichever way. So if we could kind of focus on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well done. I need a motion to accept the reports of the superintendent 9.1 through 9.6 as reports of progress by Mr. Bahu, seconded by Mr. Conway. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 9.7, home education. Need a motion to approve home education by Ms. Smartin, seconded by Mr. Lay. Roll call.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi? Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Lay?
Yes.
Ms. Martin? Mayor Rourke?
Yes.
7 yeas.
Section 10, new business 10.1, approval to accept and expend allocated FY25 awards. Need a motion to approve, accept, and expend by Mr. Rossi, seconded by Ms. Doherty. Roll call.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Lay?
Yes.
Ms. Martin? Mayor Rourke?
Yes.
7 yeas.
10.2, FY25-26 budget update. Need a motion to accept the report as a report of progress by Ms. Martin, seconded by Mr. Lay. Roll call.
No roll call.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes. 10.3, budget modification request. Need a motion to approve modification of $332,517.62. Motion to approve by Mr. Rossi, seconded by Ms. Doherty. Roll call.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty? Yes. Mr. Lay?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Rourke?
Yes.
7 yeas.
10.4, Mr. Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to point out, if I may, that on item 10.3, you'll notice there were two documents. The second of those documents is additional information that Ms. Doherty had requested when we presented the previous budget modification request in the last meeting. I'm simply pointing out to you that we followed up on that request, Ms. Doherty.
10.4, vote to authorize MSBA statement of interest for the Joseph A. McAvenue Elementary School Accelerated Repair Program. We actually have 8 altogether, so I read all 8 schools off at once. If there are any questions or comments, we can go from there. So, first one, 10.4, MSBA statement for the McAvenue Elementary School. 10.5, vote MSBA statement of interest for the STEM Academy. 10.6, vote to authorize MSBA statement of interest Shaughnessy. 10.7, vote to authorize MSBA statement of interest for the Butler. 10.8, vote to authorize MSBA statement of interest for the Bartlett. 10.9, vote to authorize MSBA statement of interest for the Daly Middle School. 10.10, vote to authorize MSBA statement of interest for the Green Knowledge Elementary School. And 10.11, vote to authorize MSBA statement of interest for the Bailey Elementary School. These are all for the Accelerated Repair Program. Motion by Mr. Conway, seconded by Ms. Doherty. Roll call.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Lay?
Yes.
Ms. Martin? Yes. Mayor Rourke?
Yes.
7 yeas.
11, convention conference requests. I'm sorry, Chuck, go ahead. Ms. Doherty, you're sorry.
I was just going to make a motion that we take them together, but I wanted to just point out for the first one, if I could, it's not out of state because it's just Boston. And it's a wonderful opportunity for our students to be invited. The Lowell High School Poetry Club team is attending a competition at Emerson College, which is my alma mater, so I know it's in Boston. But I would motion to approve both those requests. You might want to change it to I don't know what you say, out of
Well,
seat.
it's overnight.
Request.
Overnight request,
yeah.
that's what it is. It's an overnight request.
Yeah.
So we'll do 11-1 is out of state. Overnight request, Lowell High School to Emerson College in Boston. 10.2, out of state, the Bar Foundation, Lowell High School to Washington DC. Motion made by Ms. Doherty, second by Mr. Lay. Roll call.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi? Ms. Doherty? Mr. Lay?
Yes.
Ms. Martin? Mayor Rourke?
Yes.
7 yeas.
12, professional personnel. 12.1, members of the Lowell School Administrators Association of Lowell hereby donate 36 sick leave days to Shelby Bovier of Student Support Services. A motion to approve by Ms. Martin, second by Ms. Rossi. Roll call.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi? Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Lay?
Yes.
Ms. Martin? Mayor Rourke?
Yes.
7 yeas.
Motion to adjourn by Ms. Doherty, second by Mr. Lay. Good evening.